Folks, you know what kind of day it is. It's a great day to talk hockey. I'm going to focus. I had a look at Michael Hage yesterday. I know a lot of Hab fans are hoping that he's the answer at second line center down the road. Um, took a look at one of his games, and we're going to do a little scouting report on it. He had a strong freshman season for Michigan from the production standpoint, picking up 13 goals, 34 points in 33 games, which is damn good for a freshman. He averaged 16:48 in ice time per game, was 45.8% in the faceoff dot, which is going to need to get better. And he finished the year -9, which again we'd like to see an improvement on that this season. Unlike last year with Chicago Steel when he finished on a tear, Page only scored 3 goals in his final 16 games this year after potting 11 in his first 18. Uh, Michigan faced Penn State in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament and got swept in 2 games. As a result, the Wolverines failed to make the Frozen Four tournament for the first time in a while. Page picked up 1 assist in those 2 matches and was held to just 3 shots on net. I've got clips here from Michigan's 6-5 loss in the opening game of that best of three. Page ended the game -2, and he failed to get a shot on net. So maybe not the best game to look at, but this is these are the games that you want to scout, the important games against good opponents, and certainly Penn State, which who ended up going to the Frozen Four, was a great test for him. So let's uh, let's roll the tape here. Now let's have a look at it here. He started out um, playing in I guess, a second line center role really in this game, but made a few good passes to start. Here he is. When he's in the offensive zone, I definitely don't have a lot of issues with his game. He's got great hands. Look at that touch pass there. He Good shot, although he had problems getting shots on net in this particular game. Here, you get to see his speed. He's got good wheels, and that's gonna help him get to the NHL someday. Um, Here we are. We have a look at that. We'll just uh, we'll just have to pause that and go back a little bit and have a look at that again. He This is where you see the two Michigan guys in deep, and he's the third guy back, and he really should not have gone this deep on this play. It was he had to be holding back there. There was no reason for him to jump in and try to pressure the guy there because it ended up being a 3-on-2 the other way, and he didn't pick up number 13. He just kind of took no one on the back check, so he should have played that better defensively. He went in too deep. When you're the third guy, especially when you're playing center, you have to protect it. You have to protect the play defensively. Here was uh, here was some good passing. He was most effective, I found, in this game on the power play. Even strength, not so much. But you see the passing ability on these plays. He gets it on the tape. He has very good vision. Here here he is on the forecheck. When he's engaged, skating hard, he can he can turn over pucks in the offensive zone. It's uh it's the rest of his game away from the puck that clearly still needs some work. Here we go, like I don't know that he should have stopped skating there, but there's going to be some work. There's going to be some work to do defensively, and we'll see in the clips throughout this contest where it's evident. Here is a good example. The two Penn State guys were deep, and again, he went too deep there. He shouldn't have. He should have laid back because defensively he was the guy back. And here, we saw them score again. He got bumped off the puck. Let's just reverse that a bit. You see, he went deep, right? And then on the back check here, he comes back right here. The two guys were right beside each other, and then the guy got left open. That wasn't entirely his fault, but he was easily bumped out of the way in front of the net. And the big, the big error on that one was just when there were two forecheckers already basically behind the red line. He should not have gone after the puck carrier there. He should have gone back into a defensive mode. So that's something that I've just noticed that he will have to work on his play away from the puck. It was evident a few times in this game, and you know at least partially at fault for two of the first three Penn State goals. So I wouldn't say that this was one of his better matches. So that's something that I hope. And again, here, he's the centerman, but what was he? he was uh, he was cheating. He does cheat a bit sometimes away from the puck when he's supposed to be back in deep and covering the opposition instead of hanging out by the blue line. Here we uh, here we go. Like I don't know why he didn't. Let's just reverse this a little bit here, and we'll stop it for a second. Right here. Now he had two good options. One was to slide back into the slot a bit, or to go over to the boards to give the his teammate that's getting the puck, give him a passing option, and he didn't do that. Now there were four Penn State guys right there, and this guy's heading out towards the blue line. He needed to give him a passing option along the boards was ideally the thing to do, but for some reason he decided to head behind the net, and what it ends up doing is becoming you know a, an opportunity for Penn State the other way. Now it's just little things like that where sometimes away from the puck he's just got to make better, safer decisions, be available for the pass, give his uh, give his teammates with the puck a better option because going behind the net there didn't help the guy whatsoever. He shouldn't have done that. Um, he's a smart player, but there are some teaching. There are some things that still need to be taught, especially away from the puck. That was the first half of the game. Here's the second half. I liked his floor checking on this play. He threw a couple of hits in this game, so he wasn't like he wasn't competing. He just there are some things that need to be taught away from the puck that you know uh, give him a year or two more in college, and hopefully next year, especially, we'll see a jump in his defensive game because this this game clearly demonstrated to me that he's not ready to be playing pro hockey just yet. Here he is, 4-on-4. That was a good play by him. One of his better defensive plays. He stayed between the net and the puck carrier, or sorry, the number four there. Now here's a defensive play. I don't know why he didn't cut off the play along the boards. He just kind of coasted to the puck carrier. You see here, he should have had a stick along the boards cut off a pass back in. He was right there to. He should have been able to get the puck out there, or at least stop the pass back in, and it meant Penn State continued with the play. And again, there he tried the old back pass, the line A back pass in his own zone that never usually turns out right. So I wasn't thrilled about play his play there. And here he is again. He didn't get the shot on net. Here, little lackadaisical on the back check there. Little things like that that they aren't huge, but there's a nice play. He can really he protects the puck really well and has great vision in the offensive zone, especially when they're a man up. I really like his play on the power play, and we'll discuss that at the end of this video a little more. But you can see here he makes uh, he makes nice plays on the man advantage, and didn't get an assist on that, but kept the play going and was a big reason why Michigan was able to pop a goal on that play. Here he gets out muscled a couple of times by number two, 5'11" defenseman. It just a bit of an indication that he's got to get stronger. I mean, we saw it. We saw it at both development camps that he's still a fairly skinny kid. So let's hope he has a very productive off season with the weight training and puts on a bit more muscle. Last year, it's often the case in the draft year. There's just so much other stuff going on, so many distractions. You're showing up at development camps, you're going to combines, you're going to the draft. Just a lot of things going on away from the gym, and you don't get into a routine typically in the off season of your draft year. So he wasn't able to put on maybe as much muscle last summer as he would have liked. This summer, especially with Michigan getting knocked out so early, he's had a lot of time to train and a lot fewer distractions. And hopefully, he's having a really productive off season in the gym, and he'll come back stronger next year and be even more effective. But you can see in these highlights that he really didn't accomplish a lot in this game. Penn State, pretty tight checking team, veteran team, and he looked like a freshman at times. But to his defense, here was one play that and again, just maybe trying to do a little too much there, and his shots weren't getting through in this game. Penn State was strong defensively, but he, he's an impressive player, no doubt. But this game was it told me that he's a player that he needs to keep working on things. Oh, here he should have. The guy was circling in behind him. Should have passed it to him. Went to the open spot. Instead, he tried the super dangle. That was what the score tied 5-5 late, and it was a really good chance. But again, a poor decision where instead of trying to dangle a really good college defenseman, he should have utilized his line mate, went to the open spot, and perhaps even scored the winning goal. But it's all part of the learning process. None of us are perfect. Here's the one shift that he got in overtime. Um, Penn State ended up scoring in overtime, and it was kind of the difference in the series winning that first game in overtime. So it was a close series, but ultimately Hage was shut down, and we saw that he's still a freshman, and that there's work to do. So it was clear to me down the stretch that Hage needs at least one more year in college before making the jump to the pro level. He needs to get stronger, improve his face-offs, work on his game away from the puck. may seem like I'm being a little bit harsh on a freshman here, but we are talking about a first round pick, and there are high expectations. If you ask me today, I would say that he's at least 3 years away from challenging for a second line center spot in Montreal. Right now, I would put Oliver Kapanen ahead of Hage in the race to earn that position if Kirby Dach ultimately fails to claim the spot. Does Hage have more natural offensive ability than Kapanen? Probably. He's a bit better stick handler, may see the ice a little better when he has the puck in the offensive zone. But Kapanen to me has a clear edge defensively and did at the same age too, and has more of an edge to his game. He's smarter away from the puck than Hage, a lot smarter, I think, at this point. And that is going to be a major factor in who ultimately ends up winning that spot if it comes down to those two guys and Beck. There's uh, there's a strong possibility that the Canadians trade for a last center this season if none of the current centers fills that spot capably, or they don't, they go into the season, uh, or like add one before the season starts. But that would bump Hage down another spot on the depth chart if that happens. If especially if the center that they acquire, if they do get another left center, is fairly young. There's there's a common perception that the center with the highest offensive ceiling always gets the number two center position, but I would argue that it's often the better two-way player who grabs that spot, especially if you have a productive first line center, and the Canadians have one in Nick Suzuki. It's fair to say now. Uh, all you have to do is look at recent Stanley Cup winners: Sam Bennett, Chandler Stevenson, Braden Shen, Anthony Cirelli. These were all second line centers, right? The one commonality among all of them is that they were two-way centers. None put up gaudy offensive numbers in a regular season. Sam Bennett obviously had a fantastic offensive Stanley Cup year, but that's different hockey, right? Playoff hockey is a different kettle of fish. So don't be shocked if Hage ultimately ends up playing on the wing for the Canadians if his defensive game and faceoffs don't improve significantly. That doesn't mean that he won't become a good NHLer. That doesn't mean, it just means that he may be more suited to play a position where he doesn't have to concentrate so much on his play away from the puck. He is most effective when there is time and space out there, and I see a future NHL power play staple. He can create plenty of offense when his team has a man advantage in the offensive zone, and he's also more effective in 3-on-3 overtimes than he is 5-on-5, at least at this point, anyway. So let's say he ends up being a middle line winger that sees plenty of time on the power play and in over 3-on-3 overtime in the regular season. That's still a decent return on a player picked outside of the top 20 in any NHL draft. It doesn't mean he becomes a failure or a bust. More than anything, he may not become a second line center because the Canadians will be a contender. That's very possible. Let's not forget that the Habs have six forwards or seven forwards in the organization who were drafted higher, right? They've got Slav, Newhook, Bolduc, Laine, Suzuki, Caulfield, and Demidov. So if he ends up being a middle line winger, that's still not a bad return on the club's investment in a 22nd overall pick. So just trying to look at this realistically. We can say, oh yeah, he's going to be their second line center down the road, but there's uh, there's certainly no guarantees on that. And if it doesn't happen, you can't look at it like, oh, you know, he was a bad pick because of all of the stuff that I just explained. So, anyways, Michael Hage, um, good prospect, needs a lot of work. 2 or 3 years away, I think, from playing in the NHL. Certainly, at least 3 years away from being a second line NHL center, I think. Will he ever be one? We don't know that, but that's okay. He's still a good prospect, had a good freshman year. Michigan's adding some punch this year. Horkoff will be a lot better. It'll be his second year, and he'll have adapted a lot better. They're bringing in Malcolm Spence. He'll probably play with those two guys, and you know, really one of the reasons why he wasn't that effective with Penn State down the stretch was because there wasn't a lot of he didn't have great line mates. The high end college line mates last year, and I think this season that will be a bit of a different story. I expect him to play with Spence and Horikov, and that to be a very effective line. So, looking forward to his sophomore campaign. But let's be patient with him. Could be 2 or 3 years before we see him in Montreal, and that's fine.